Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled Read the City Codes. I am in my mid-30s, own a 120-year-old Victorian home that happens to be on the city's historic registry. I believe my 60-year-old neighbor, who happens to be a licensed clinical social worker, is jealous of the status of my home and thinks she owns the block. This happens to take place on a town block where most properties are quarter-acre at best. My neighbor, the one in question, and I happen to have homes with half an acre or bigger backyards, football field long, next to each other. After living here for 2 years, I happened to have friends over and had pretty loud music set up in the backyard on a July evening, 5 to 6 p.m. DJ turntables and single 15-inch PA speaker. I notice her come home through the fence and start trolling her backyard while talking on the phone. A few minutes pass and I was visited by law enforcement that pretty much stated that you're good to play at the current volume until 10 p.m. when the noise ordinance kicks in. Perfect, I go back to enjoying my family and friends and cooking meat. 20 or so minutes later, she comes out and parks her lawnmower right next to the fence and fires it up, zip ties it to the on position and goes back inside. This went on for about an hour, embarrassing me in front of my guests, pretty much ruining the evening. We slowly lowered the volume, nearing the 10 p.m. noise curfew. The mower shuts off around 9 p.m. I kept playing music as the sun went down and started a fire in my pit. I then promptly shut the music off right at 10 p.m. This is when we notice her again, trolling the backyard, this time recording us with her cell phone, very embarrassing for me, to my guests. I confront her with a text talking about how much pollution her mower had made versus her hybrid vehicle as a passive-aggressive knock to her. I start exiting guests and wishing them a good night while walking them out of the yard at 10:30-ish p.m. This is when we notice her in her yard with these fake little cuffs like the fire is now bothering her. At this point I realize I cannot use my backyard for entertaining at all with this lady around. Her response texts told me to read the city codes regarding noise. I know the code and followed it perfectly, however I did not much read the other codes. One of them is regarding trash and appliances etc. in backyards. Good time to say her backyard literally looks like a junkyard. Appliances, trash, 20-foot dead tree pile, hoarder style, paths through the croft. We have pretty mature trees separating us, however, it is still pretty visible. My guests that night even brought it up. I figure this is a good time to report her to the city regarding the croft. This opened a 2-year can of worms of her as slow as she could, every night an hour or two, cleaning the croft under the view of the city code officer. Fast forward through the summer to Christmas 2017, with her backyard still pretty messy, so I placed a Hoarder Season 1 DVD on her porch with a bow. A wonderful passive-aggressive event in my malicious mind. Then, near this event, a few nights later, she let her dog out past dark and seems to keep it outside all night despite the below freezing temperatures and feet of snow. At this point, she is putting her dog in harm to get back at me, it seems like. My bedroom is at the rear of my house and obviously I can hear it through the window. I then go outside despite the freezing temperatures as well and follow her above lead and take a 30-minute video of her dog barking and wailing at the cold. I sent this video to animal control. No way, lady, don't put your dog in harm's way as a tool to get back at me. The dogs then seem to disappear. I have not seen a dog over there since. To this day. Thank you, animal control. Fast forward to spring 2018, around this time I placed a camera in my front window for general security as she is building a fence between our houses, boxing herself in, attempting to block my view of trash rather than finish cleanup. She then gets a surveyor to come out post-construction and I notice her new fence is 1 foot into my property. All the way back, I am keeping this one in my back pocket. This is when she pretty much disappears herself. She no longer parks in her driveway, gone. One day, weeks later, I notice her car in the driveway of the home behind hers. On the next numbered street, she is parking there and walking through his backyard into hers to get into her house. Pretty strange behavior over a camera I have placed. Her place has since gone dark, no lights ever, even as I write this now. Very strange, however, I do notice her every once in a while drive by. I have not had guests over into the yard since and probably never will. This is obviously ongoing and missing a few details, but after reading a few of these, I thought it belonged here. I'm a terrible neighbor, but she definitely has some mental issues that she seems to be working through based on the events. And ripe stars, if you enjoy stories about crazy neighbors, then please don't forget to like the video if you want to support my channel. Thank you so much in advance, your help is very much appreciated. The next one is titled, That Dang Fence Again. Growing up in the south, fences never last too long. The constant barrage of torrential downpours, drought, excessive humidity, hurricanes and just overall conditions, you are extremely lucky if the fences last 6 to 10 years. That being said, my family always kept good relationships with the neighbors, and when it came time to replace the fence, each side usually went 50-50 with the cost. My dad was young, our shared fence neighbors were elderly, so my dad would typically do the labor for free, with my help. And our fence lines were long. One side alone was 75 to 125 feet, we had roughly 300 feet of total fence line for our backyard. On the side of the garage, there is typically a pathway about 4 to 5 feet wide with a wooden gate for access into the backyard. Many years ago, during a rebuild, one of the neighbors had told my dad to not worry about the side area, just build the fence from our house directly to the front corner of his garage and from behind the garage to the back wall. He thought we all could save time and money by using less fencing because he never used the side walkway, more area for our dog, larger background for us kids to play in, etc. A real win for every party involved, so the fence went up and connected directly to and from his garage, giving us a few extra feet, and we continue with our peaceful existence just fine. Unfortunately, about 2 years later, that old man passed and we got a new neighbor who was a bit off. We later found out she was a hoarder and never cared about the outside or inside of her house, and everything rotted away. It was a real shame. When she moved in, we introduced ourselves and explained the situation with the fence, and she said no worries, life went on. Mid-2000s, and she was let go from her job and decided to find herself and live off her severance package for a while and didn't look for new employment. Hurricane Ike hit in 2008 and almost all the fences needed to be replaced. One neighbor went in 50-50, the other neighbor said she would not contribute. She ran out of severance and it was difficult finding a new job with no work history for 3 years. So we said it is fine, we understand, we will fix it, we are supportive neighbors after all. And then she got kind of nasty and said, "And make sure it's done right this time, don't encroach on my property, follow the property lines." Well, okay. So when we rebuilt the fence, we built it on our property line, like it should have been, but now there was a 4 to 5 foot gap where a gate should have gone, that is on her property, in other words, her responsibility, which we told her she will need to take care of it. Oh, and I guess she forgot, because the next time she let her poop pup outside, it ran away out of the missing gateway. Oops. She did not like us all that much after that incident and never spoke to us again, until she recently walked away from her house after owning it for 15 years. Her hoarding had destroyed the inside, the outside was in tatters, and I guess she fell behind with the bank and they repossessed it. The new owners put a bunch of money into fixing it up and they are pleasant people. The next one is titled, Always Drive the Posted Speed Limit. I have recently moved to a new neighborhood, slightly rural with some fun back roads. The roads around me are notorious for speeders. I will admit, before I moved here in my younger days, I loved racing around the turns. Now that I am older and wiser or something, I try to drive around the speed limit. But there is this one super awkward road on the way to my house. It has a decent enough slope that when going down it, you pick up speed. Posted speed limit is around 25, which means you have to ride your brakes just to maintain such a low speed. My super cool minivan is heavy and gains momentum quickly, but I can still maintain a 25 to 30 without keeping my foot on the brake the whole way. On this street is a lovely woman. I'm sure she is sick of people speeding down her street, but she is just not cool about it. She comes to a full stop when pulling into her driveway, just to slow people down even if they are doing the speed limit. Honks and yells at anyone going over 25. If she is in her driveway, she lifts her arms in the WTF gesture and yells at the passing cars. It is quite amusing. So the other day I was cruising down this street and there was a mail truck in front of me, so we were doing around 25 to 30. My lovely neighbor was in front of the mail truck. She pulls ever so slowly into her driveway, and as we pass, she toots her little horn and yells at us to slow down. At this point, I just brush it off. She does this, it's whatever. But today, my lucky day, as I am heading down the street again on my daily commute, my lovely neighbor pulls out behind me. I was doing around the speed limit, probably closer to 30. However, my lovely neighbor asked me to slow down again. I must slow down, probably should anyway. I go exactly 25 miles per hour, and when we reach the corner to my street, I drive the posted 15 miles per hour going around the curve. The posted speed on my street? 30. You bet I'm driving 30. At this point, lovely neighbor is annoyed. I can see in my rear view that she is throwing her hands up, clearly not happy. Nobody drives 30 on my street, not even the people that live here. It is a decent cut through to some main roads, probably why lovely neighbor was using it. And you bet your ass I pulled into my driveway nice and slow. Did not stop because I'm not a complete a-hole. Lovely neighbor speeds off in frustration, hitting at least 45 before she was out of sight. The next one is titled, My neighbor wanted to get me out of the building and now owes our landlord money. My boyfriend and I moved to another city because we want to study there and I'm already working there. My boyfriend still works in our hometown, so he is less at home than I am. The apartment we moved in was perfect. It was an absolute dream. If there wasn't our neighbor. We will call her Kristen. At first, Kristen was really friendly. She made my boyfriend and the boyfriend of my mom coffee when they were renovating our apartment, always asked how we were, if we needed something, etc. We were so happy that we had this perfect apartment and such a nice lady who lived underneath us. But I was wrong. So wrong. Kristen had more things to complain about and I did more things according to my revenge, but this story is already long enough, so I won't tell you everything. When my boyfriend and I really moved into the flat, it took her about a week when she first came to talk to us. Or better to say, she wanted to talk to me. Kristen complained that I was walking too loud. Not my boyfriend, not me and him, not our guests, just me. Kristen does not have a really nice way to say things, so she said something like, "You must walk less. You should wear special shoes. I have some of my own because I don't want to bother my neighbors. You should try it too." She also said, "You should hear you. It's like an elephant who runs around. You should get carpets. I have them everywhere in my flat. You should do it too." And a sentence I am hearing literally every single time. "Don't you want to be a nice neighbor?" She said that she already spent a lot of money on her apartment and she wants to live there in peace without a teenager to disturb her. She is in her 70s and doesn't have a family or a job. If she was not she, I would pity her. Of course I wanted to be a nice neighbor and we wanted some carpets anyway, so we told her that and that we wanted to get something to eat, so she had to leave. 2 weeks after our first talk, she came again. She told me that because of me, her heart monitor had to be regulated twice as often as before, and that because of me, she got a tinnitus. A tinnitus because I was walking too loud. Also, she couldn't sleep because of me and she got depression. When I wouldn't do anything, she would have to commit herself to the psychiatric. My boyfriend asked her why she thinks that it can only be me, and she told us that she pays attention to when we come and go. She always knows when I am home. Also, when you pass her door in the staircase, you hear steps, so every time someone is in the staircase, she watches and wants to know who it is. My friends one time wanted to visit me and Kristen opened her door and wanted to know why they are there and what we would do. My best friend is pretty pissed because of her, so she said, "Maybe a little bongo session or we will listen to the new album of a heavy metal band. But maybe we will try step dance too." Kristen almost got a little heart attack. My boyfriend bought himself a new motorcycle and left it behind the building. Kristen told him that I should have asked her if it was okay. And by the way, she is not our landlord. He has the right to park his motorcycle there, and why the F should I ask her? She also said that we have to talk again. Oh boy. So on the same day she came to us and now she demanded that we should throw away our laminate and have to lay carpet. She is really sorry with my boyfriend because he is such a sweet angel, but he would have known that living with someone like me and my weight, and yes, she said that by the way, I am weighing like 60 kilograms and she told us that she weighs about 150 kilograms and that she doesn't bother her neighbors, but I do. I could not say a word or I would have exploded. I wanted to punch her right in her face, but my sweet angel boyfriend told her that we had something to do and sadly she has to go. At this point I already didn't feel at home when I was at home. I sneaked through the rooms and every time my boyfriend was a little louder, I asked him not to do that because I would be in trouble. I already looked for other apartments, but now I was furious. I talked to a friend of us who was in the team of our landlord, that is why we got the flat, and told her everything about Kristen. She told me that Kristen wanted a friend to move into our apartment, but obviously that did not happen, and now Kristen wanted us to get out of the building so her friend could move in there. I planned my revenge. Kristen asked me to have our laundry done until 6 p.m. In our contract with our landlord it says that we have to be quiet at 10 p.m, so we started washing our clothes until 10 p.m. I asked my other neighbors and magically only Kristen feels upset. At the second it turned 10, we were still. No loud television, no music, no washing machine. Kristen rang our bell a few times a day, but we didn't answer. I started to park my bicycle next to the motorcycle of my friend and told my friends to do it also, and because Kristen likes the rules so much. That's why I also told my friend in the landlord team that her flower pots are outside of her balcony, and in the contract it says that they have to be inside or else someone maybe could get hurt if they fall down. Also, you can just smoke on your balcony if your neighbors don't feel bothered by it. Well, surprisingly, I thought about it and came to the decision that I didn't like it, so I told my landlord, and now Kristen has to go outside of the building for her hourly smoke. This was already enough that she went to our landlord. She told them that she was completely innocent. She spoke like 3 words to us and said that we were harassing her. We wanted to bully this poor old lady out of her apartment so that our friends who we party with like every day could move in. She wanted us to be moved out of the building. My landlord friend listened to her whole story and then told her that I already spoke to her, but that my story was a little bit different. She told her that everything I did was completely alright, and because Kristen told our other neighbors how awful I was, told lies about me and tried to bully me, she was the one with a problem. Because of many factors I even could sue her, but that wouldn't be worth it because it would be more work than everything else. If she had a problem, she would have to move. Sadly, she didn't, but since a week I didn't hear anything from her anymore. Also, because I told them about her flower pots and one really fell down on the sideway, an employee of our landlord came to take a look because of safety. When she asked him into her apartment, he saw what she had done to it and that she did a mess of things that she wasn't allowed to. I don't know what exactly she did, but she has to remove it and owes the company now more money. And ripe stars, with this we have unfortunately reached the end of today's video. However, if you cannot get enough of my stories, then I would highly suggest you to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will show up at any moment in the left corner of the screen, which includes over 1000 ripe stories. In addition, if you would like to share one of your own stories, then please head on over to r/ripe stories on Reddit, where you can post your own story and there is a good chance that I might read it in a video. In addition, please also check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive Reddit videos that you won't find on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, your daily support is very much appreciated, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.